What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with me, your host. I got a great week for you this week. A couple things I wanted to touch on. First of all, I literally just walked in my house from a hot yoga class, and I've been getting pretty heavy into it, to be honest. Like, pretty heavy. Me and my wife have been going, like, almost 3 times a week, and it's intense. You know, yoga is pretty sick. If you guys are listening, and I mean, like, I feel like yoga has a wrong outlook. You know, people are like, it's kind of weird. It's kind of like something girls do, maybe. Nope, it ain't. It is unreal. If you've ever listened to any advice I've ever given you on here, I would suggest that you just, pay $5-10 and just do a drop-in hot yoga class. And it is outrageous. And if you don't know where to do one at, well, how about this? Yoga Ralph was a guest on my podcast a couple times, and he is a yoga instructor. So he was on the podcast. He used to be be super, super obese. He just changed his life because of yoga. And, I did it a couple times with him in the beginning, and, I liked it, and then I started going more, and I love it now. I seriously love it. But he got 3 drop-in classes coming up. One is the 8th, 14th, and the 28th of February, and all those will be at Yoga Flow in Murraysville, and those will start at 6:30, and it's $5 cash. And honestly, Yoga Flow in Murraysville is my favorite yoga studio that I've been to, and I've probably been to maybe 5 or 6 now, but it's just the hottest. It smells the best. Not that they smell bad at all, but they crank everything up there, and I really enjoy it. And for instance, I did the last drop-in class that Ralph did. He played Mac Miller's Circles, and it's just a different vibe in there, and I think people just have the wrong mindset of what it is. But if you want to do a yoga class and you don't got no one to do it with, hit me up. I'll come and do a yoga class with you. Absolutely would. But like I said, the 8th, the 14th, and the 28th at 6:30, Yoga Flow, Murraysville. I'm giving you way advance notice. Check it out. And I'm telling you, it's good shit. Anyway, this weekend, me and my wife and Matt Christie and his wife Lauren, we stopped over at the brand new Cobra Lounge in Bloomfield. It is a Korean barbecue restaurant, and it also specializes, it's 3 different things. There's karaoke in there, there's a club in there, and there's fire Korean barbecue in there. And, we went down there, and we had a time, we had a time. And to be honest, it was, everything I ate there was absolutely exceptional. We had A5 Japanese Wagyu, which, sounds wild. I didn't even know what all this shit was, but we had a fantastic server there who walked us through the menu, so it wasn't overwhelming at all. And we just had a really great night. Everything was great. It's one of them joints where they cook in front of you. Dudes are frying vegetable, not hibachi. I'm talking about there's imagine a very, very upscale 5-gallon bucket grill in front of you on your table, and the shit is literally being cooked and served to you right after it's finished cooking. And it was seriously unreal. It was pricey. I have to say it was pricey, but you get what you pay for. You're going to go in there and, you're going to drop a check, but you're going to have a great time, and you're going to have a really cool experience. And I enjoyed that. We've been hitting crazy places. We went to Onion Maiden last week, that place is fire. Ironborn's fire. We just been eating. That's all we do is just eat. But another thing I wanted to talk about, was yesterday. I talked about yoga and shit like that, but yesterday, me and my wife went to a gong meditation, and I'm going to tell you, it was one of the most, I'm not going to say it was bizarre. You're just laying in a room on a mat, and there's about 12 of these big ass gongs right in front of you, and a couple of them bowls that you hit, and they're like, oh, you know, them white big ass bowls, and that you hit them in there, oh, and then these gongs, this dude's just beaten to death. And it was a wild experience, but I thought it was pretty funny. But another thing I wanted to kind of bring up is, like, I think me and my wife are going to start doing a couple mini episodes. You know, like I always, like, we go eat at these places, and these are brand new restaurants. They're really great, and, like, I don't know. I feel like, you know, I'm going to talk about my experience with them, you know, nothing long at all. Like, I'm talking like 5-10 minute podcast, and basically just reviews about new places, new things that we do. You know, we went to that mummy exhibit. It was dope. It would be cool to talk about that and not have to make these intros 15 to 20 minutes long, but still give the people the options to listen to it if they would like. But anyway, the reason everyone is here, I got a fantastic guest this week. My guest is Matt Spahr. He is an all-around artist, you know, spray can artist, graffiti artist, just painter, like just skateboarder artist. Like, he's an awesome dude. He's an OG. He's been in the game for a minute. He's done, his work is all over the city. He's done designs for Time Bomb, which is a legendary spot. He's done, you know, you could see his work in Condado Tacos. You can see his work all around the city. But I've known of him for a while, and I've known that he's like, he's a very, very well-respected artist. Like, if you check his Instagram out, he will, like you could see the quality and the content, the quality content that he has on his page. Like, the dude is he's super dope at what he does. Super nice with a spray can, I'll tell you that. And that's what caught my eye. But I wanted to know kind of what he was about. And this episode was dope. Like, he grew up a skateboarder. Like, he was a skate rat. And, like, we talk about that. We talk about, like, graffiti. We talk about, like, how someone like him even gets into that world of infamy. You know what I mean? And, like, my whole thought is like, this dude's like an OG, respected in the game for a long time, and he's like out of that side. You know, like, he's 40. What do you say, 48? But, like, you know, it's a little bit older. Like, you're not out there, you know, every day like all the youngins out there. And I wanted to know his input, or not his input, but his outlook of what it was, because I just thought it would be super interesting. And the episode is fire. I mean, I'm telling you, I got so much good shit coming up for all you guys. Huge news coming probably this weekend, if not next week. But without further ado, episode 103 of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with Matt Spahr.
Telephone.
Hello?
Telephone.
I'll call you right back. Call you right back.
Telephone.
I'll Call You Right Back podcast. This does it for us. We've been here for like... I think this will be our 5th year, maybe. But I found this place on Craigslist, and it was on there for like 4 hours, and then we just jumped on it.
I like it. And you have everything in its place. It's nice, dude. Yeah, I can appreciate it, but I drive my daughter nuts with that. I'm like, you know what? If you're going to get the Cheez-Its out, they go back here.
I'm definitely guilty of being. My wife is the one who like kind of reined me in. You know, I grew up in a family that was like, you know, we were collectors. You know, we always collector. My dad was like always into trains and shit like that. Used to build trains, and my uncle was like crazy, like heavy into it. Like whole rooms just full of like fucking boxes and shit. And I think it started for me from that, because like we just always were like, you know, flea markets, you know, like Goodwills and stuff like that. It's just find other people's trash and like that and turn it into something that we like. You know what I mean?
That's rad.
It's always been like that kind of. But I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I try to organize things as much as I can. It makes it more comfortable for people. Like whenever I have people over here and I like interview them, you know, like it's different. If it was like a doctor office setting and there was just one table with like neon lights, you know, it's not like as comfortable as like being in like, you know, you're just chilling on a couch, just talking. It's a little bit more comfortable, I feel.
Yeah, true story.
But
I feel comfortable.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you feel comfortable. This fucking couch, it's seen a lot of people's asses.
Nice.
But I appreciate you doing this. I feel like we've been trying to do this for, I think, since I started this.
Yeah, you told me about it when you were getting your stuff. You know what I mean? And I was like, and you know how it goes. Like, I'll be scheduling stuff, and
yeah,
and then you'll yeah. It's cool that we finally got it together, though.
Yeah, for sure.
This is the perfect time of the year because the shit hits the fan like in March until Thanksgiving for me, and I'm just like hit, and you know what I mean. It's like
yeah, you probably got a lot of shit to do.
Yeah, and when I'm not working, I just want to sleep.
Yeah, and then the holidays like come around, and like that's just straight chaos for like 2 months. You know, Thanksgiving and Christmas.
I didn't do shit in December. I didn't. I came back from Cleveland on Thanksgiving Day, and I just didn't do shit but play Pokemon for like a month.
Yeah, Pokemon Go.
Yeah, no, the new one for the Switch. They had that on it. They got the.
Now how did you get into Pokemon? I mean, how old are you?
48.
Like, how does someone who's 48 get into Pokemon? From your daughter?
No, I was, it was in the 90s. I guess it came out in like 95, 96 or something like that. And then I was at Easter dinner at my Uncle Johnny's house, and my nephews had it. And I was like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, what is this? What are you playing? And they're like walking, and it was on the old Game Boy with the...
like the different color different color Pokemons. Like they had Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow.
Yeah, red. Yeah, it was red and blue, and then they had and it was the grayscale screen on it, and there wasn't shit to it. And I'm like, what are you doing? And they're like, you go through the grass, and these things pop up, and you battle them with ones you already caught. And I started looking at the characters, and I love character design.
Yeah,
and Pokemon got it in spades.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. So then I went to GameStop the next day and bought like a used Game Boy, and I bought one of those cartridges, and I started playing it. And, you know, there's a lot to it, you know?
Oh, yeah, you can get as deep as you want to do.
Yeah, you can get as deep as you want to with it. So I'm like, I'm playing it, and I'm like, yeah. And this last one was cool because I bought the Switch. I told Jules when we were working up in Cleveland, I was like, I'm getting a Switch. I'm getting out. He was like, no, you're not. I'm like,
those things look sick.
Yeah, it was nice. I was like, it's research and development, dude. I'm getting a new Pokemon game. I'm getting on there, and I'm looking at all these characters, and I'm the backgrounds and shit.
You think they have the best characters?
I think Pokemon character. Yeah, if I had to like, you know, rate a brand for like best character design and development, yeah, Pokemon's there because they got the evolutions. Like they have variations on a theme type thing from a design standpoint.
Like Pikachu, Raichu.
Yeah, Raichu, or they'll have.
I was never like I'm 29, so like that was like. I mean, that was right in my wheelhouse, but I never was into Pokemon because I had older relatives that were, they got me into Magic cards. You remember Magic?
Oh, yeah. I remember those.
I like those
like Dungeons
more
and Dragons style.
Yeah, it was basically like the artwork was more like vivid and more like realistic. Not realistic because they're all fake monsters, but like, you know, it's more like, what's the way to describe it? Like it's not as like cartoony as Pokemon.
Yeah, it's like Franzetta or Boris Viejo, like fantasy.
Yeah. Almost like illustrations and out of a book.
Yeah, well,
Some
like
Guillermo
oil painted.
Yeah, that's exactly
nice.
it. Very, very detailed. And like I got into them early, and like I was always a collector, so like I collected Pokemon cards, but like I never was like crazy into it. But everyone, I can't believe how like big it is still. Like it's pretty wild how big it is still.
I know, it's crazy. Like I don't know, like even like my daughter played it, Gracie played it, and her friends were playing it, and they're 17, so they're not playing it, but they're messing around.
It's just something
on
to do.
Yeah, they'll be putzing around on it and stuff like that, like how I do. You know what I mean? Like they're not going to competitions or nothing. But yeah, even like, you know, like that was Pokemon was like. You know, all the millennials know who that is. What are they, Gen Z?
Yeah,
you know
I have
what
no idea.
Yeah, something like that. And I'm Gen X, you know. cynical and apathetic. You know what I mean?
Cynical and apathetic.
You know what I mean? It's like the whole you suck.
Yeah,
but who cares? You know what I mean? Good for you. You know what I mean? You suck, but good for you. I don't know. No, that was our shitty generation.
Now, before we get too into this, I do an opening segment with everyone. It's called "What's in the Cup." What's in the cup? What's in your cup?
Just regular Folgers coffee, I think.
Now, we were talking about. You said you're 49.
Yeah.
Now, whenever you I assume that you've always been into artwork. Like I would assume that. Is that a right assumption?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I was little, they would ask. Ever since I can remember, they would ask me, how adults ask kids, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I would always say, "I want to be an artist or a priest."
Yeah.
And my grandmother would say, "Wait till you get older and find out about girls. You won't want to be a priest." So, yeah, she was right. But yeah, ever since I can remember, I love to draw. I sometimes I tell people, when I was little, because my mom had my sister like 13 months after me, and she was young. Like she had me when she was 19, and then and she had another baby to take care of. So I was like, she used to put tape on my fingers to try to get the tape off. So as soon as I learned how to get the tape off my fingers, then she gave me a box of crayons, type of thing.
Yeah,
and then and that was it.
You always got into it with was there anyone else in your family that was like real crazy into art, or was it kind of just something you picked up?
No. My paternal grandfather wasn't like what you would call an artist, but he had a brain for spatial relations. Like he worked at Fisher Body in West Mifflin, punching out body panels for GM. Yeah, and they lived in Wilkinsburg up until like 1960, I guess. But he worked at that plant, and on his lunch hour, he figured out a way to configure the dies so they could punch more body panels out of a single roll of steel. You'd visually rearranging them and stuff. And they gave them I forget how much of a bonus, and
because they're saving money for themselves.
Yeah, they're saving money. And he put it in the suggestion box. They had suggestion boxes back then that people actually looked at them.
Yeah, no one does.
Nobody does. It's just it's cosmetic. It's put your complaint in there. It's cool, whatever. But anyway, they were at his, and he got $50,000 bonus from GM in 1960. And then he moved out to Plum and bought a horse ranch because he was like urban cowboy guy from Wilkinsburg, German dude from Wilkinsburg. And he bought a horse ranch out there and shit. But yes, him, when I think back on it, yeah, he had the potential to be an artist, but he grew up in a depression.
Yeah, so it's work.
It was Heinz ketchup and hot water to make tomato soup type of shit. So he was working. But given the opportunity, I think he would have. But other than him, I can't really think of anybody else.
That's a cool story though. Trying to you're saving the company money, they give you more money, but that's true though. I don't know if my job has a suggestion box. I don't know if any of the jobs that I've ever had a suggestion box. We just had an HR department. I think you just had to send an email to, but that's pretty cool that's a cool little fact. Now, what was your first what was the shit that you were drawing back then? Was it just anything, stuff out of your mind?
The first real recognition, I guess, that I got from somebody who was outside, just my mom or my family, you know what I mean, was I was in first grade in Catholic school. And my great-grandfather, who was born in 1890, his name was John Shirley. Anyways, he died on Halloween. Okay. When I was in the first grade. And we went to his funeral, and then my mom and dad were staying, so I went home with my dad's parents to their house. We had a coloring it wasn't a coloring contest, it was a poster contest. You drew it. You had to draw it and color it in and shit. Yeah. And I drew a Frankenstein scene for this poster because I just was looking at a dead guy, for the first time. And I remember the Frankenstein was a reanimation with the lightning bolts and stuff like that. So I don't know maybe I was dealing with my own grief or something like that. But anyways, I turned it into this poster. And took it to school for the contest, and I won. I won a glow-in-the-dark Disney World calendar. Oh, that's sick. Yeah, for 1977. Yeah, you could it had shit on, they printed it, but then they printed this glow-in-the-dark shit on. You can go in the closet in the dark and look at it. So yeah, that was nice because I got some recognition. I was about 6.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, 6 or 7.
Now, I mean, as you're doing this artwork and like you're coming up through school and shit like that, like, is it, do you have any other interests besides art? Like, are you a sports guy or anything like that?
Oddly enough, like when I was in junior, I mean, I always loved skateboarding.
Yeah.
I just did. I mean, it was around 70s was like the heyday, but I didn't get serious into it until the 80s. But when I was in junior high, like the school that I went to in Monroeville, we also lived at that school. My family did. It's a long story how we ended up there, and I won't get into it because I don't know. I mean,
that's all right.
Yeah, so we ended up staying there, and they had a gym there, and you know, because it was a school. It was kindergarten through 12th grade, but there was a gym with a weight room there. Yeah. So me and my old man would go lift weights like after school. It was like, because he was like big into sports. I was never like a huge sports dude. Like I liked him, but he was about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
like
that's
ruined
cool.
it.
But this is one thing we could do. Like it satisfied his, you know, his interest in athleticism, you know, lifting weights and jogging and all that stuff. And I liked it too, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What junior high school kid don't want to be strong, you know what I mean? Like that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So I did that for a while. And then I just started skateboarding nonstop by the time I was about like 14.
And art's in your life this whole time?
It was, but it wasn't, because my high school, like when I was in 7th grade, like, because like I said, it was like kindergarten through 12th. When I was like 7th or 8th grade, they did away with the art program. There was no art program.
Oh, really?
It was a private school, but it wasn't like.
There was no art classes at all?
No, there was none. There was an elective at the end of the day that you could take. Like after the first year they canceled, like the second year they did an elective. It was a painting class where basically what we did is Bob Ross was on PBS at that time. So we would go in there and we would watch Bob Ross shows and paint a little bit when we could. And then I was just like, you know, I'd be drawing like superheroes, Garfield, like shit like that, just in my own spare time, like, you know what I mean? But nothing serious, because I didn't know there was like, I think the most cultured thing I really recognized growing up was probably a Van Gogh sunflower print that used to hang above the couch. Yeah, you know, and I'm cool with that. Yeah. The obstacle is the way. You know, I'm thankful for it, because if I would have been raised like with all this academic art and all this like high culture and all that kind of stuff, I wouldn't have a chance to, you know, I'd have been told like this is better and this is worse type thing.
That's a good
Instead,
point.
I just went with whatever I like to do.
Find your own lane.
And I didn't worry about what was good or worse or better or bad.
That's a really good point. Like if you were taught that stuff, you might be like, you might be pushed away from one certain thing that you like by, you know, just a teacher. You know what I mean? That's a cool way to think about it.
Yeah, I was free to develop on my own, with, you know,
that's
on my
interesting.
own accord.
Now, when did when did you like kind of get back into it heavy to the point where you were like, all right, let's do this?
Well, when we'd be skateboarding, like when I was like 15, 16, 17, you know how it's like when you skate, there's spots.
Yeah.
There are like spots you go. You skate everything. You go everywhere, but there are certain spots that are just like, all right, we got this parking garage is going to be mostly empty from this hour to this hour, and ain't nobody going to be in there. So if it's snowing or it's raining, we can go in there, that spot. Then we have like a shitty ass pool somewhere out like in the east suburbs, like at a YMCA, that it was like not like a kidney pool like in California, like a square ass like bank ass to wall, you know, those kinds of spots. So me and my friends just started like, you know, we'd get like spray paint from the hardware store and not even try to do like graffiti, just like writing our names, like just being dorks about shit, like doing cartoon characters of each other, like, you know, with stink lines coming off and stuff like that, just goofing around. But we, you know, by doing that, it was like a dog pissing on a fire hydrant. We'd show other skaters, hey, we were here, check this shit out, you know what I mean? Trying to make people laugh.
That's pretty cool.
But then, you know, looking through Thrasher magazine, you know, you'd always have like the old Rat Bones logo spray painted in pools. You'd have, and then, you know, California graffiti, like those graffiti writers in the 80s would be like in pools doing it. So you'd see a picture of like, you know, Dwayne Peters or Jay Adams or somebody doing a frontside grind in a pool, then there'd be a graffiti piece, like a legit one. Yeah, like a legit piece. And I started looking at those and I was like, I was like, whew, those are pretty nice. And like, you know what I mean? Let me try it. So then me and my buddy Ian, who I also skated with back then, he and I started painting graffiti regularly about like 16, 17.
Really?
Yeah. And then Jamie Matthews, who writes his tag as Surge, he's like one of the old heads like me.
Yeah.
He saw, and Brick, and, you know, those two were in SDA at the time, the SDA crew. And, you know, they saw some stuff that we were doing, and Jamie tracked me down, just called me on the phone out of the blue, got my number off somebody. And then I started painting with those guys. Then then hanging with those dudes who were far more advanced with it than I was at that time. Like
Brick and all them were?
Oh yeah.
Is he older than you?
No, he's not. He's younger than me, but he was doing it. He was doing it when he was young.
Yeah. Now, before we even get too deep into that, now you said that I thought it's so cool how you just said like we would just like, you know, mess around and like write our names and stuff like that, and like, you know, that naturally kind of fell into the whole like, you know, we were here. That was like you putting your flag there. That's a cool way to think about things. Now, before you did that though, you had no idea of like the actual, you know, like was there a term graffiti, or was it just like you painting on a wall?
When we started painting, it was just like some punk rock shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like that. But about the time that I really started noticing the graffiti pieces, like in Thrasher and in Trans World, was about the same time that I came across the Star Wars movie.
Yeah,
which PBS actually, they produced that. It was on public television,
really?
like along with Nova and all that kind of shit. Like, yeah, they got in cahoots with.
I didn't know that was a
Henry
PBS
Chalfant.
piece.
Yeah. I mean, God, I mean, I should probably fact check shit, but I'm like 95% sure.
That's all right.
That's it.
That's all right. I watched that though.
Whether they aired it on PBS, which I believe they aired it on PBS. So that led me to believe that they produced it.
Yeah,
but
that's super interesting. Though.
I think that's the way it went.
That was and so they recruited you basically because you were like writing shit, and they saw your pieces that you were doing, and they just like, I don't know, I guess recognized talent from you.
Yeah, they didn't know. Like I was like, it was like we were the outsiders in the thing because we were out like in the east suburbs, like Holiday Park area out there.
Yeah.
But we had the Holiday Park bus would like go right through East Liberty, so we would be down there skating all the time.
Yeah.
So we were probably down there more than we were in our own neighborhood actually at that time. You know, trying to get away from all the rednecks and shit out there.
Absolutely.
So so Jamie got my number off somebody and just called me on the house phone at the house, and you know, my mom's like, you know, some guy named Jamie's on the phone. I was like, I don't know no Jamie. And like I get on the phone, he was like, you know, I saw your piece coming down 286 because we had me and Ian had a piece up there. Yeah, and he just got a hold of me, and me and this dude Wheatley, who writes Havoc, wrote Havoc back then. We were beefing at the time, like, and it was just like skateboarder shit because we were all skateboarders back then. It wasn't like we weren't b-boys. We weren't out like breakdancing. We're doing windmills on cardboard, and I wasn't. Some guys might have been doing both, but it was the majority of it was like you could classify us as skateboarders.
Yeah,
like more into punk rock end of things.
Yeah,
and I don't know. Something happened, like I went over one of Wheatley's tags, or he went over one of mine, and we started battling and talking shit and all that kind of stuff, and nobody knew who I was at that point.
Are you like 17 at this time?
Yeah, about that.
Now let me pick this apart a minute. So you're writing, like you're painting all this stuff. Like, do you have a name that you're painting?
I was writing Rage at the time before I got arrested for writing Rage. In the 80s, that was my tag.
Now how did you even come up with that?
I was young and angry, I guess. I don't know. And the letters look cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just started writing it.
Well, I was just curious because like you see like all the pieces.
That's a good question.
I mean, like you see all the pieces and like you'll see like how things are written and how like the spelling and like like how everything is kind of like a play on, sounds and words and stuff like that. And I was always curious, like how I know some people have like, blatant answers of how they came up with their names and shit like that. But I was just curious on how like you picked yours. But if it just popped in, like that's how I did the podcast name. Literally just popped into my head one day.
Oh, word.
Yeah,
Nice.
just very randomly. But so you were writing Rage?
Yeah, I was writing Rage, and then I got caught writing it on junior high school, up to the Holiday Park Middle School. Up there was called O Block Middle School.
Yeah.
And we skated there. We had a launch ramp in the weeds. We used to put it up against a building, do wall rides and shit up there. So the one day after we were done skating, me and this dude Nate decided to go around the corner and do a piece like on the back of the building. But I had a 79 Mercury Monarch at the time that was spray painted from bumper to bumper. It said Hicktown on the side, and on the other side it said Team Leon. There was a American flag on the hood with a peace sign where the stars go. Like it was,
wow.
And the cops would pull us over all the time, and and never get us for nothing. But it just happened to have that parked there that day, and we were behind a building, and the cops just came
seen
around.
it and everything.
Yeah, Nate ran. I covered for him. I was like, I don't know who that dude. He was just there. We were skateboarding. I don't know his name. But they caught me, and really
this is
back
the same
then,
time, 17, 18?
Yeah, 80, yeah, like spring of 89. Yeah, I would have been 17.
Now, are these like full size pieces, or are these just like single line? Like
no, these were full size pieces.
So you're into it heavy.
We were painting burners. Yeah, we were trying to paint something cool, and that's
dope.
why we did it like around a corner, because like the round a corner, like. There was the weeds right there, and the parking lot was over here. So nobody could really, unless you walked around that corner, you weren't seeing us. So we were trying to be cool about it, but we were doing it in broad daylight, too.
Yeah.
So who knows who somebody saw us from a window or something. Just dumb. Just doing it dumb. We did it dumb.
And they ended up snatching you up.
And they got me, and then I changed my tag to 7.
Well, how long were
89.
you, like, how bad was that you got caught? Was it like a big deal?
Oh no!
Okay.
Back then it wasn't shit. I think maybe I had a $300 fine. I think that was it.
Okay.
Yeah, they took me down to the station. Like my folks had to come get me.
Yeah.
Because I was underage, and that was it. That was it. Like and then I worked at a grocery store. I paid the fine, and then I changed my tag to 7.
How'd that come up?
I don't know. I'm gonna sound like a mama's boy, but I'm trying to play it like Elvis. You know what I mean? Because Elvis loved his mom. So, But my mom's birthday is July 7th, 1952. So July 7th month, 7th day, and 5 plus 2 is 7. And she always liked the number 7. And she was kind of mad at me that I got caught. But she always knew I painted. I was like, I'm gonna make my new tag 7. You know what I mean?
Like your mom didn't hate on it or anything like that?
No, they knew I was doing it. They knew I'd be like, this is, I'm thinking, I like it so much. There's got to be a bunch of people out there that's going to like it just as much as I am.
That was literally my just question. Like, how many people were doing it back then?
Not a lot. Let's see.
Because, now you see a million different tags up everywhere. But, like, back then, you said this is, like, 88?
Yeah, like 88, 89, 90. It was the SDA. Let me see. I'm not going to call out their real names. But
No, you don't have to. Just like, I just want to know, is there like 10, 20, 30?
I would say in our crew, if there was a dozen, at any given time, a dozen to 2 dozen.
Oh, okay. So
at any time.
There was a decent amount of people.
Yeah, there would be Force One, Surge, Just, Havoc, Buster, then Sesk Money came along. Sesk was young. Sesk is widely respected by the graffiti community in Pittsburgh still. He's out there, you know what I mean, living a civilian life, and, good for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Not many people stick with it as long as I have.
Yeah, especially nowadays. I'm sure you can't.
And it's cool either way. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes I ask myself, why am I still doing it? But
yeah.
I like it. And I like spray painting. I like painting, period, with brushes, whatever. So, You know what I mean? If I can use it to apply paint to a surface more efficiently on a mural job and, get some cool results with it.
Now, whenever you're coming up with a name, are you selective to the down to the point where you're like, all right, I want to use this type of letter. I want to use that. Will you choose your name based off of things like that? Like if you wanted to have like an R in your name, you have to come up with a name that has an R in it or something.
Yeah, because graffiti, like just like in the fine art world, how abstraction, like they say abstraction is a catch-all term, it could be anything.
Yeah.
But abstraction, by definition, is where you take something from reality and you abstract it.
Yeah.
Like you take a vase and you twist it around. Graffiti's an abstraction of letters. Arabic letters. So you can pick one that you like. If you're looking at the letters like an R with the same admiration where you could look at a vase, like a fine piece of porcelain, and really appreciate that object and want to paint it.
Yeah.
Because it's beautiful. Graffiti writers, I think, look at letters like that. Like, I really like that letter. Yeah, so you're going to find some, like, 7. Like, I could have done without the extra E in 7, but I like the S and the V and the E and the N. And the, 7 just made sense. And because the S is just, I don't know. You get the whole
I always
ball
think
of
about
wax
that.
with that.
I always think about that because, like, you see all the different tags and, like, you see, like, the more, like relative people that you see getting up everywhere around the city, and all the letters are different, shapes, different colors, like all this stuff. But I mean, my whole like understanding of it all is like the reason that I even started to like appreciating graffiti is that like it's almost like a subliminal, like a photo. It's almost like looking at one of them like pictures where you have to like look to be able to like see what it is. Like it's not like a lot of people aren't just like blatant about what they're writing. It's almost like a hidden message in there. Like does that kind of like resonate with you?
Yes, it's different styles. There's two. There's wild style, which is you just go nuts with it and abstract it out and trip those letters out like as far as you want to.
Yeah.
Then there's like straight letters, which you could call like average Joe letters.
Yeah.
Which I like to paint the straight letters more because straight letters are more like French fries. Like they're simple, but not every French fry is good. Like if somebody's really doing their thing on a French fry, like blanching it at a lower temperature, taking it out, letting it rest, putting it back in at a higher temperature to get that crispiness on the outside where it's still fluffy on the inside and it's hot. It's like straight letters are like that. It's like a really good French fry. And I love French fries. So I
really like that analogy. I like that analogy.
I do it like I'll throw some like little arrows in here and there, but mostly I do legible stuff. The public can read it, but the hardcore writers, like the hallmark of a gnarly ass writer,
they recognize
is being able to
skills.
rock a wild style.
Yeah,
but everybody can appreciate a straight letter. It goes like tugs. Then there's fill-ins, like call throw up, like bubble letter throw ups, like a 2-letter throw up. Then there's simples, which would be like highway bombing, like straight letters. Then there's like stylized straight letters. Then there's like wild style. And then heads back in the day, like Case 2 from up in New York did this thing called computer rock, where he just rocked this wild style that was just like fragmented, like, and Future 2002 like really progressed like his own style. So yeah, it's like that. Like you can take something as simple as like doing a name.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean?
And
it's
make it
just
as crazy as you want.
and make it into art. I mean, I think that's
super
the beauty
awesome.
of it.
Now, whenever you're doing this, and you said you guys were in high school. Like, do you have a thought process of like what you wanted to do after school? Did you know that this was like a way to be able to like monetize and make money, or did you have like what was your thought of like what you wanted to do for a career after like high school and shit?
Graffiti was like a sport. It was just like skateboarding to me. It was like it had pain involved, so I liked that because I like that shit.
Yeah.
But when I was in 12th grade, like I said, my high school didn't have an art program. So I went to Votech in 12th grade because I had all my credits. So they had a commercial art program. So I went to this place like up in Monroeville called Forbes Trail and took their commercial art program. So
what's that consist of?
We just did art all day, screen printing, graphic art.
So like a basis of everything.
Yeah, like some illustration styles, like learning how to do typography, like with rapidograph pens and shit. Well, my teacher, Kathy Stauffer, who was cool as shit, by the way, she was like, I went to the Art Institute. You should try to go there. You don't have to take SATs. You don't have to, you know what I mean? Like you did.
Wait, the Pittsburgh Art Institute was around whenever you were graduating?
Mm-hmm. They've been around forever, dude. Like they were down on Penn Avenue at the time, not at the new place. It was like down across from Horn's department store.
I bet you I've talked to maybe you're about to be episode 103. I've probably talked to at least 20 people that have went to the Art Institute and said nothing but negative things about it. So that's why I didn't know if that was like back. Like, it's weird to think that it was back, that long ago. Because I guess I just never thought about it.
Yeah, I went before computers. So like that was back when we were learning from old heads, like 80-year-old dudes who did gouache illustrations of couches for like the Sunday paper for like 50 years. You know what I mean? So we were learning all these old school techniques from all these old heads.
Oh, that's super
cool.
Now,
when we got out, the degree was virtually useless since like we had a computer class. Like my last 6 months there, I took computer class. We worked on Photoshop 1. And the printer printed out, like you could feel the printout with color printouts. It was like crayon on there. You could feel the tactile.
Yeah.
It was garbage. So we all learned old school illustration and design styles like ruby lith and cutting out hand cut color separations on mechanicals and shit. But yeah, it was basically like after 95, after Windows 95 come out, I graduated in 91. After 95, it was over. Like I had to teach myself computers and stuff.
Yeah.
But I was driving a truck at the time.
What did you graduate with? Like, what was it? Like, was there like a major?
Visual communications with an emphasis on illustration. I guess you could say. Yeah, but it was like I got out of there. Yeah, the Art Institute was a money grab. That's what it was. And these people talking shit on it, rightfully so. I met a lot of good students down there that I still talk to now. Learned more from them than I learned from the school probably. You know? I had a German art teacher named Flavia. She was German, but she was from Brazil. She would paint. She was wild. She was cool. I loved her. But yeah, like when I got out, I'm like, I go to the job placement thing. Well, I went to IEP because I was going to be an art teacher. And I took a sculpture class. I showed up to the sculpture class drunk. Sculpture teacher didn't like it. Matter of fact, I had the bottle of Mad Dog on the table while I had my clay out. And he started talking shit. And I was like, I don't need you, and I don't need your school, and I don't need your dumbass degree. Yeah. And he was like, you're going to end up roofing houses. I was like, good. Yeah. I'll roof houses. If I don't have to be here and listen to you. So I packed all my shit, and I came back and went down to the Art Institute to, because they have a job placement center. I go in there. It's like, we have one lead. They give it to me. Gateway Press, typesetter. That's the job I just quit. I worked at this newspaper my whole time in the Art Institute doing car ads and stuff on the Apple computer. Yeah, it was like old school Apple, this program called Ad Writer.
Wow.
And that's how I paid for all my supplies. I was like, I quit this job. This is my job. You're trying to give me the job that I just quit. I was like, you don't have anything else. They didn't have nothing else.
Wow.
So my buddy Jason's dad, Larry, owned Oakland Supply down in the Strip District. And he sold like cases of Red Pack, cases of provolone, 50-pound bags of flour, any pizza shop shit that you needed. And if he didn't have it, we'd go to Penn Mac and we'd pick up specialty stuff and then drop it off.
Okay.
So I ended up working for him for like 3 years, just driving a van and doing art like back at the crib. Like I moved down to Mount Washington with Nexkey.
Now, are you making pieces and selling them on the side at this point?
Not really.
Okay.
I'm making them.
Yeah.
Nobody's buying them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm toting them 50-pound bags of flour, boy. I was, you know what I mean?
No.
But it was good. It builds character.
Absolutely. Like any sort of job that sucks that you go through, like you build your respect for it. I fucking cleaned toilets with shit on them from grown adults for, a year and a half. You know what I mean? I was a janitor, ran cash registers. It makes me appreciate what I do so much more now that I had to deal with that.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? I feel like you got to deal with that shit. You got to have them terrible jobs. But like your mindset at this point in time, like with your artwork, are you like? I feel like graffiti writers have like a certain what's the word? People think about them a certain way. Like a lot of them are just like very quiet, like very like secretive. Everything like that. Are you that way back then?
I guess you could say that I was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'd be like some guys are really like I'm not a paranoid. I'm not predisposed to paranoia. I'm more a happy-go-lucky jag-off type dude.
Yeah.
Like where I'm not like I take things for what they're worth. But rightly so. I mean, people who are paranoid, usually if you ask them about it, they have some pretty damn good reasons why they are.
Oh, absolutely.
They have facts to back it up, like, and all that stuff. So yeah, a lot of guys are secretive, and and I respect that. You know what I mean? They probably thought I was a little foolhardy for not being as secretive about stuff. But I was mostly a piecer, and like there's two camps in the graffiti world. I mean, they cross over, they blend. I mean, the line is definitely blurred.
Yeah.
But there are bombers and who want quantity. They want tags and they want fill-ins all over town. And then there are piecers who also tag and do fill-ins, but the majority of the stuff that they do is usually under bridges where they can be down there for a couple hours and do a full color.
Yeah, they're not rushing and shit like that.
I was more that dude. So I wasn't out like tearing shit up like some other guys were. And they have to be secretive about it. And
because if you're going everywhere, you're obviously getting seen by people. Like I remember reading about like what's the dude that got arrested from here that was the Hurt pieces?
Oh yeah,
like I remember.
Boy Hurt.
I just remember reading that like in high school, like a while ago, and just saying that he had like a certain like a crazy number of pieces around the city, and I guess it makes sense that you'll be noticed more by the more pieces that you have up. So you're probably sought after more as far as like by the authorities, like they want to like nip it in the butt. Like if you're getting up everywhere, they want to like kind of get you off of there.
Yeah, it's kind of what happened to Surge back in the day, because he'd be riding his bike all over town just like bombing everything. And then Mook was up like crazy all over the place. I mean, a lot of dudes Danny Montana, God rest his soul, MF1, he'd be up all over the place, but still rock like crazy burners. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's some guys that like have it both ways.
Yeah.
And, but me, you know what I mean? Like, they'd like my friends would be out, like tagging and doing all that stuff and doing pieces and all that stuff and riding like that. And, sometimes I was young and stupid. I'd just be drunk. You know what I mean? I'd just be like assed out, like, and not be out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But I always try to make time for, to do some pieces and stuff like that.
Now, was there any people back then, 'cause like nowadays it's like, it's a popular thing to get like artwork. Would you call it street art? Like street art in like restaurants and stuff like that. You see that everywhere nowadays. Like back then, was there people like ever hiring anyone to do like murals or anything?
Yeah, there was. Yeah, I don't know about the street art term. I mean, I understand it, and I understand why people use it, because it's descriptive. You know what I mean? It gives you an idea if you're not aware of what somebody's talking about.
Yeah, from an outsider's point of view, I feel like that's a good umbrella for it.
It's an umbrella term. It's something the art world likes to label stuff so they can market it.
Yeah,
is what they like.
That's
to
a
do.
good point.
It's all about the money at the end of the day. I like the term spray can art. Henry Chalfant put out a book called Spray Can Art back in the day. He had subway art first, which was all train pieces. Then spray can art was like artwork like around the country. Matter of fact, it had a Pittsburgh section where a guy named Buddha had a piece that was on 28 that was awesome. But that was all wall shit. So I prefer that term, like spray can art. But that's just my personal. But that's my personal preference. But as far as that kind of stuff goes, yeah, like Serge got caught painting graffiti back in the day. They put it in an arrest warrant out for him. They had a reward out for him. I was working at that newspaper when I found out about it. Somebody called me on, I met up with some guys afterwards, and I went down to Mount Washington, and they told me, but he was on the news, like they caught him. But when they caught him, he ended up getting a lot of offers from like businesses, like, can you come in and do something?
Okay.
And he knew I liked to do it, and he knew I liked to do pieces. I like to do the pretty shit. So he was like, he'd invite me to come along with him. So we did Metropole, which was a club in the Strip back in the day. We did like their coat room and stuff. We did.
So was this like this was like some of the first like legal pieces that you guys did?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a legal one. I mean, we get paid a little bit of money, and and get the paint paid for. The Airwear store, like the Doc Martin store on Forbes Avenue in Oakland back in the 90s, early 90s. We painted that. There was a club called Cloud 9 that was down in the Strip District.
But some of that shit came to be because someone got caught and noticed?
Yeah, he got caught. We painted. Wow. Actually, we got invited. Serge got invited to paint Marty Warhol's scrapyard down over on the north side. Andy Warhol's nephew. So, and he's from here, and they own scrapyard, chicken farms, and all that shit.
Is Andy Warhol's last name Warhola?
Warhola, yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I did not know that.
Yeah, he changed it to Warhol. He took the A off so it didn't sound so ethnic.
Wow. Yeah. I did not know that.
Yeah, I guess that was a more modern move for him.
Holy
I don't know.
Shit. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's cool. So Marty was cool. So Serge invited me and Force One to come paint it with him. And we did, but there was a graffiti ordinance back in the day, and I don't know if it's still on the books.
What's that mean?
That means that the city of Pittsburgh has an ordinance that says if the city of Pittsburgh deems the paint that is on your building, if they consider that to be graffiti, then it's graffiti, whether you want it there or not.
Yeah.
So they sent Marty Warhola a letter from Sophie Masloff's office saying, if you don't have this graffiti removed from the building by this date, we're charging you a $10,000 fine for every day that it's left up there.
So even if it's that person's building, it could not be shown in public.
That was the law.
Really?
Yeah, that was the law. And he left it up till the very last day, and then he rolled over it. And it was straight up graffiti pieces. It wasn't like, we weren't like out there doing like paintings and shit. Like I painted a 7-piece. There was a Force One piece and there was a Surge piece. So it was straight up graffiti, but he wanted it there. But the city somehow, like, I don't know if it's still on the books, that law, or they just ignore it now.
Yeah.
Like how they used to arrest cross-dressers back in the day. Like, or you can't ride your horse on Sunday or something. Like, it's something that's still on there, but they're like, it's 2020 and we don't care.
Yeah.
You do what you want, So it might be like that for all I know.
That's pretty interesting to think about. That's pretty wild to think about too.
Yeah, I was
that
like,
if you're a business owner and like that's your building, like you can't just like that's crazy. That's pretty bizarre. Now, after you guys are like painting all this shit and like you obviously have this crew and everything like that. Is it basically like how often are you out painting and like how often are you like trying to get your shit up on walls?
I don't know. We'd be painting back then, like all the time. Like we would meet before I moved to Mount Washington myself, had my own lease up there. My buddy Paytosh, who was from Cleveland, but he was going to the Art Institute here. He was a writer too. He had a place up in Mount Washington, and all the writers would meet up there. Like on a Friday night, we would all meet up there. And then if we were going to paint a wall, we did one out in the South Hills, like on the T line out there one time. And we'd wait till like 2 a.m, and then we'd go out and we'd paint. So it seemed like it was every weekend, but in reality, we probably hung out every weekend and probably painted like twice a month. Like took a weekend off and then went out and painted again. But matter of fact, the job I'm working on right now, speaking of places we used to paint, is down on 23rd Street in Smallman on the corner. And right behind it, there's these luxury condos back there called the Cork Factory.
Yeah.
And back in my day, like Jamie and the SDA guys and Brick and all them dudes, they found this warehouse down on 23rd Street. It was abandoned, and they'd put like jump ramps and launch ramps and shit like on the ground floor and skateboard in there. Like I was saying about the parking garages, like it was covered.
Some Gleaming the Cube shit.
But everybody was like starting to spray paint. It was 7 floors, and it's 2 buildings, and they're connected with like a catwalk that goes between. So we would be down there all the time, like in there, like nobody would mess with it. It'd just be crackheads and hookers and shit in there, and like a bunch of like skateboarding vandals down there. We'd just be, painting whatever.
Now, was it real clicky? Like as far as like there being like cliques of like different graffiti writers that like hated on each other?
We were all together in it. Like the whole, like everybody in the city who was doing it at one point was cool with, everybody was cool with one another. It was such a small group, and we would all get together and hang out. If there was beefs, like how I had with Havoc back in the day when we were going over each other's stuff, once we got to know each other and hang out with one another, I love Wheatley. I still see Wheatley to this day. Me and Wheatley saw this Japanese psych rock band in Cleveland when I was up there working. He drove up there and saw him. We went and saw this band. They were wild. They were face melting. But he's one of my best friends. Yeah, but once we got together, once graffiti writers get together, there's kids across the city right now beefing.
Yeah.
If they got together with one another, smoked a blunt, hung out, you know what I mean? Just like talked about stuff, compared sketches, you know what I mean? Just like tagging each other's black books and stuff. it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
But young kids, it's like Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. Like, I'm not comparing humans to animals, but we have these tendencies where us against them tendencies, like rival factions are battling. I mean, it keeps it interesting. True. But you know what else is interesting? Like, growing older from an old head standpoint and having these guys that you wrote with back in the day that maybe you didn't like at first that are still good friends with you to this day.
Yeah.
That's even better than, like, you know what I mean, the drama involved. Young guys are like that. They're jockeying for position.
That adds
young
to the
writers
story,
in the city
though.
probably talk shit on me because I'm an old head. I'm an old lion. You know what I mean? And the young lions are coming up. You've seen it.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. I guarantee that's a really good point because I feel like not even in graffiti and stuff, but literally within anything you do, there's going to be people that are haters for no reason and shit like that. That's a good point.
Yeah, I'm not mad about it. That's just the way of the world. You know what I mean?
That's a really good point.
When they get to be my age, maybe they'll have some perspective and be like, maybe we, you know what I mean? Because they might be thinking these young guys need to give me a freaking break.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean?
Now,
I don't know if it is or it isn't, but you know, it could be happening.
It very well could be.
Yeah.
Now back then, I mean, like, you're doing all this shit and like you're obviously like your work is definitely respected. Like, I've known of you for a very long time, and I think the first time I've seen your work was through something you did for Time Bomb. It might have been through like a shirt or something like that, and I remember seeing your profile and like clicking on it, and like I've always just been a fan of like the visual aspect of graffiti, and your shit is like wild to look at. It's very, very colorful.
My man, thank you.
And it's cool to see that. Now, were you like back then, like not even like on like some cocky shit, but like, are you able to like realize? Are you like aware of like your talents? Like, are you actively like, you know, trying to like progress as far as like what you're getting up on, and like, do you see like a progression in your work from like, how do I want to say it? It's hard for me to like describe what I'm saying. Like you're obviously trying to like sharpen your sword as you're doing all these pieces. Like, when are you confident in your work? Like, in what ages? Is that a weird question?
No, it's a legitimate question. I just have to, let's see. I don't know. All I'm really trying to do, like, they're like, I like to do a bunch of different stuff to keep it interesting, but I've been really focusing on like the more graphic, like hard edge type, like illustration and designs and mural pieces and stuff for like the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Because I like the challenge in it, like getting it tight, getting it clean, getting that line right and everything like that.
Yeah.
But back in the 90s when I was painting, like if I'd be painting canvases, like I was slopping it up like a jag-off. You know what I mean? Because it's fun. It's fun to do, and I really liked some of like Robert Rauschenberg's paintings back then, and like some of the abstract expressionist stuff, like Basquiat stuff. Like, I've been looking at his stuff since the 90s when like hardly you'd say his name and people didn't know who he was, but people know who he is now. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
But like I'd be looking at that kind of stuff, the more expressive type stuff, which it was more about like an internal, like, you know, like it had more to do with like an unspoken kind of poetry, like an internal thing than like a mastering of a technique kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you can get into that area of it where you're progressing in that, but you're so far out in the ether that like, just, you know, everyday people are like, I don't know what it is. And I started seeing that, you know what I mean? And I was like, I want to do art for the people. I don't want them to be like, you know what I mean? Like the guy at the museum on a Sunday who's in there and, you know, looking at an abstract painting and saying, what the hell? My kid could do that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be that guy. I want the regular dude to look at it and be like, that's dope.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, you know, and I don't regret doing those pieces and going down that path. I mean, so I might go back to it even eventually, you know what I mean, with what I know now, and try to make it more accessible so it's not so like heady, tripped out, you know what I mean? But still have that looseness to
easily
it.
consumable to like
have that poetic
a
looseness.
more broader set of people. That's a good way. Now, as you're explaining this, it kind of, the thought formed into my head a little bit. It's like the progression of your style back then is like kind of what I was getting at before. It's like how you like moved through your progression of your style, but that makes a lot of sense. Like, obviously in the beginning you're doing stuff for yourself and you're progressing that style, and that's like, you know, that's beautiful to you and to the people that it's for, but like eventually you want to make stuff for all types of people that can appreciate that.
That's right. Yeah, because I was making it for myself and I didn't care if I sold it. I was working a job. I figured like I was like on this Bukowski trip where I was just going to die in obscurity and all that stuff, and that's fine and that's poetic and it's beautiful and all that.
Absolutely.
You know, but I'm doing it like nobody was really seeing it. My friends were seeing it, you know what I mean? Like, you're crazy, dude. Oh, that shit's wild. You know, that type of stuff. But regular everyday people would be like, you know what I mean? I don't know. But then when I started looking at artwork, like I'm only half the equation. The viewer's the other half of the equation. I know that sounds like, you know what I mean, some like egghead, like academic shit, but for real, like I'm putting an image out there and it's up to the viewer to complete it. If the viewer can look at that picture and find things in there that relates to him or herself, and make sense of it, like a visual dialogue with these like, you know, like easily accessible, like iconic sometimes like images, you know, like, and it means something to them, and they create their own narrative in their head about what's happening. You know, if I'm communicating, like I'm giving them a launching pad for their own imagination.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool to think about that.
In their mind just by viewing it. Now, if I'm not giving them anything to work with, they're not able to enjoy it on that level. I want them to enjoy it on that level. You know, of course, we all got to eat. You know what I mean? I got to get paid for my artwork, and I'm not trying to be self-righteous or anything like that. But like, there's a portion of it where the giver in me is satisfied when I do something good. Like I like to see people enjoying it. I like to hear people like,
absolutely,
oh, that looks good. You know what I mean? That encourages me to do more and lets me know that like I'm on the right path and, you know, add some value to the world.
Absolutely. Now let me ask you this.
And not starve to death.
Let me ask you this. Like, so as like I kind of touched on it before, like I know, like I definitely know some graffiti writers in the city that are like, they're going pretty strong, but like no one knows who they are. And like, that's, you know, they have this anonymous, you know, lifestyle. Like people walk by them all day and like they see these like crazy pieces that are super detailed and just beautiful pieces and stuff like that. But the people that are doing these pieces, they don't want to be known, like obviously. And I think that that's like, that's a beautiful thing to me, because like for people to like put this love and like time and like care and passion into these artwork pieces, and almost, I mean, like, you know, for a long time they were basically just like shunned away. Like the pieces, like graffiti was just like thought of as like a nuisance almost. Like what you were saying about that, the police having the graffiti on that building and making that dude roll over it. It's like, that's a wild thought for me to like kind of grasp, like people doing these artworks and putting them out in the world and not getting anything, not getting any like notoriety or like credit or anything like that. And that's where I think the beauty of it comes into play, as far as like, you know, they're putting up all these pieces and no one knows who they are.
It's the heart. It's at the heart of it. It's just like outlaw shit. And here's how I can explain that. They put it out there. It's their name. They don't want to be recognized. They're doing it in silence. It's the whole thing. Would you rather be famous or would you rather be infamous? Of course, infamous is the way to go.
Yeah.
And that's the route graffiti writers go. They want to be infamous for it. They don't want people to know their face. They don't want to be caught in a magazine, newspaper, nothing. They don't want their real government name out there.
They don't even want to talk about it, really.
They want you to see that. And know that somebody, a living, breathing person out there is out in the middle of the night doing that shit, and you woke up and it's sprouted like a weed, like a dandelion, and it's there, and you know, and it's beautiful, and it's a cat and mouse game. It's all that stuff. Like, would you rather be James Dillinger or who the heck named James is famous? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? A lot of graffiti writers would rather, you know, have the infamy thing. Like, at this point in my life, like, I don't give a shit about the fame. You know what I mean? Fame shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Infamous shit. Like, I don't know.
But I feel like that there's a blurry line as far as like you have talent and you're doing this shit and you might be infamous, but like, you know, what if you do want to monetize it? Like, where does that line kind of cross as far as like selling out and like, you know, like doing it for the love of like what it is? Because like, is that like a big battle between I mean, you hear the term selling out in any sort of craft that anyone has. You know, someone could sell out. You hear it with bands, you know, like you love bands that were like not super popular, and now you have bands like Bring Me the Horizon that are getting played in the fucking the Penguin Stadium, and people are like, oh, they sell out and shit like that. Like, where's the line of you putting in all that time and all that like boots on the ground research to be able to say, like, you know, why shouldn't I be able to get paid for this? And like I'm good at this. This is what I do. I'm good at it. I'm providing a service. Like, how could I get paid with that and still like kind of have that respect? You know what I mean?
Let me tell you how it happened for me. And I'm not, I'll give you like the Cliff Notes version of it.
Yeah.
But when my daughter was born, like 17 years ago, I was working in a blueprint factory.
Yeah.
Or a blueprint printing place. It's a reprographics place. And we were doing like drawings for like architectural drawings for like Macero and Continental Builders, the guys that put in Homestead. We did all those drawings down there. And we got to put packets together, electrical packet, mechanical packet, plumbing packet, and then there'd be a painting one. Yeah. And I'm like, I like painting. I should be a painter. So I quit that job and I become a painter, painting at Pitt, you know. So I start like house painting. I start like doing that. I go from this guy to this contractor, hanging off box gutters 3 stories off the ground, painting, you know, trying to like provide for my kid. Well, in the course of doing that, like I'm painting large scale as it is. So there'll be people, you know, a mural guy, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, oh, I could try faux finishing, or I could try to paint, you know, this character in your kid's room or whatever. And it would be like a little bit of this here and there, but house painting is my bread and butter. Now, it comes down like 2008, me and a local artist, I'm not going to mention his name. We have a show together.
Yeah.
Because he's one of those guys who wants to be completely anonymous. I respect that.
Yeah.
So we have a show together in 2008. Well, this new bar called New Amsterdam in Lawrenceville opens up like in the winter of 2008. So the guy that owns Graham's Barbershop, Ryan Graham, he's running the bar. This is before he opened a barbershop and did all that. He comes in and hands out free drink cards to everybody at the show. So I go down there and he likes my artwork. And I get to know him. We talk and this, that, and the other thing. Well, 2009, they want the side of New Amsterdam spray painted. Mm-hmm. So I paint this big Mexican Day of the Dead skull on there. And that was probably my first like legit mural job, you know, that I would consider like legit mural job. And a lot of work sprung off of that. And then like I did like meat and potatoes, butchering the rye, blah, blah, blah. Now I do a lot of work for like Condado Tacos, who I love. I absolutely love Condado. I mean, they take care of their artists like really well. Their art director's great. I work with my buddy Jules doing the art director, Lindsay. She's great. You know, and they get like artists, local artists from every city to go in. Like they have me come in and just like,
yeah, I saw that last project. There was a bunch of different people from all different areas. That's so cool.
Yeah, from all different areas. But it happened to me organically. Like I couldn't have planned it. Like it just like I did this one thing. I'm not turning down work. I got a kid to feed. You know what I mean? I got to put shoes on her feet. I got to clothe her. She likes things. I like giving her things.
I know, right?
You know what I mean? We both like to eat, you know, obviously. So I'm like, I'm doing whatever I got to do. So, but one thing just you know, and I don't take every job. There are some jobs where it's just like, it's funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, I'm like, I don't know what the motivations are on this. But back then, like I would just like, you know, survival mode. But now I can like pick and choose a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I don't know if people could say the people that are always saying, you know, selling out are the ones that haven't had an opportunity to do so yet. Yeah. You know what I mean? Almost like the guys of us, the guys who like struggle with it, like, you know, like on a daily basis, like, you know what I mean? Like I'm very mindful of that. Like I don't want to be an art whore out there doing it.
Yeah.
But if they want something like yesterday, for example, I finished this mural down at this new place I'm painting for Rick DeChance. It's called Coupe de Ville. They're going to have vintage arcade games in there, duck pin bowling.
Really?
Pinball.
Where's this at?
Fried chicken. It's on 23rd and Smallman. Right by that warehouse I was telling you about. Like, I go out to smoke, and it's right there. I'm like, we used to paint that whole freaking building.
Yeah.
But he's doing all that in there. So yesterday I finished up this like Flintstones thing. And it's straight up Flintstones characters. I'm not messing with them at all. I'm not being slick with it or nothing.
Yeah.
And not because he said so, because I felt like it should just be what it is. I'm not trying to be cute with it. But I had to like redraw them and like compose them like long ways so it went across the bulkhead above the lanes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not the most creative thing I've ever done, but I loved the Flintstones when I was a kid. Like, I've been watching it, so it means something to me.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So on that level...
I like that way to think about that. I mean, like, it's all subjective and situational, I'm sure, you know, as far as, like, what you're getting, like, the projects you take on. Yeah,
and turns out, check this out, Rick's partner, Tolga, who, he's a co-owner, but...
if you want to sit back, you could pull that mic towards you.
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. So anyways, Tolga, he's Rick's partner. Well, he grew up in Turkey. He's from Turkey. And when he came in and saw me painting the Flintstones, he was like, this is my favorite cartoon when I was a kid. And then Rick told me later, he was like, yeah, when Tolga was growing up in Turkey, that's the only cartoon they had. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, that's the only one. Like, I don't know, for whatever reason, because maybe they're a different religion over there. Maybe they don't want these American things.
That's super wild.
But they like the Flintstones. And that meant something to him. Like, he connected. Like, I didn't do nothing to it.
Yeah.
But he's digging it. And he didn't even know we were doing it, because me and Rick talked about it. We were like, do a Big Lebowski riff. And I was like, that bulkhead's too small for that. You'd have to get so detailed in there, you know, because he's always thinking about cost too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm like, the less time I got to spend on it, the less you got to pay.
Money, yeah.
So, you know what I mean? He's thinking in those terms. I'm thinking I'll paint whatever you want.
Yeah.
So anyways, we landed on the Flintstones, and I was like, perfect. I love the Flintstones. Family-based cartoons. I love them. Yeah. Flintstones, Jetsons, Simpsons, Family Guy, American Dad, like all
absolutely,
like any like, and they all stem from the Flintstones. That was like the great granddaddy of all these cartoons they got going on. So I was like, yeah, I would do that, because I never painted a Flintstone thing before. But other people could see it and not know my reasons why I like it or whatever, and think, wow, that's just a sell. I just repainted something. But it's commercial art. It's a job.
Yeah.
He let me go nuts in the back doing graffiti and shit. And the new stuff that I'm doing above the garage door, like this week, is just going to be me just like tripping some shit out and just doing what I do.
That's super cool.
Yeah, so it'll be...
I like that, though, about the whole, like, Flintstone shit. Like, you know, how you just said, like, people will see it and they could have, like, a preconceived, like, notion on it, but... you know, they don't know your reasoning behind it, and I that's respectful. I like that for sure. It's but you know why? Like, I ask the whole thing with, like, you know, commercialized art compared to, like, the graffiti stuff. It's like the graffiti stuff, people are anonymous. Like, I always wondered that whole line of, like, when you're able to turn that like you being like you know, infamous into like a way to be able to, you know, make some money and not like get completely fucked whenever, like, you know, it does come out like what your name is and they see all these pieces all over the city. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's statutes of limitations, though. It used to be 2 years. I think it's 5 now.
That's pretty interesting.
So if they don't have anything like hard evidence on you for like 5 years, you could pretty much like glide right into it. It all happened to me organically. Yeah. Like I said, you know, if they wanted to come get me for something, come get me. I'm an old head, man. I'm not dipping and diving from you dudes no more.
I know, right?
I'm not doing it. You know what I mean? I'm in the system. Yeah, I've been to your jail. Yeah, I know you guys know where I'm at. So
did you only get pulled once for graffiti?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mm-hmm. That's good. That's
yeah,
a good
that
record.
was at the very beginning.
That's a good record.
30 year stretch now.
That's good. Now
maybe 31.
Whenever you like, as you're doing this like commercialized like type art and everything like that, I saw something that you posted on your story the other day. You said like all paint. Are all spray paint cans, no tape, no whatever. But to be fair, I used a what do they call projector?
Yep.
Now I know that is a super looked down upon tool in, you know, that world. But you know, like why do you think that that's such like obviously you could do it without it. So I want to know your opinions as far as like you doing it just raw by yourself, like nothing, no tools to help you, compared to like using that. Like I feel like the comparison between that is like, you know, the people that ride regular skateboards and then the people you see nowadays with them automatic skateboards. It's like back then, like a regular skateboard is harder to use. It's, you know, it's not as quick, but like you're being more efficient with one of these automated skateboards. And I was thinking about this last night because I didn't know, I wanted to have a good way to kind of like compare it. And I feel like that is the best comparison that I could come up with, because the OG skateboarders are like, fuck them dudes with them electric skateboarders. That shit is weak as hell. And then, you know, just push a regular skateboard. And like, I understand that for them. I definitely understand how they're coming from, but I also understand the fact that like, you know, I like skateboarding and this will get me like 15 miles in like, you know, 20 minutes compared to like just pushing my whole way. Yeah. You know what I mean? I felt like that was like kind of an all right way to compare it. Yeah. But
yeah, that's a pretty good way to compare it. Yeah. And I can do it like that. And for years, like I didn't start using a projector until like a year ago. Like when I did that Condado over in Lawrenceville, they had one. I didn't have one at the time. Yeah. I was doing everything, scale drawings on paper with a grid. And then I would snap the grid with blue line with chalk on the wall and do it all and like sketch it all up by hand. So the work, you know, the efficiency of the projector and all that, like I don't have anything to prove. I know I can draw it. I mean, I stress fundamentals to my daughter all the time. She's an excellent artist. She does portraits and stuff like that. She'd kill her.
I just saw that picture that she painted of Weatherly at the beach as a baby. Yeah. Dude, that was unreal. I was looking at that and B was like, yeah, that's Matt's daughter.
She's
painted
a gun,
that.
dude.
And I was like, holy shit. I thought it was a photo.
That kid's a gun. I don't got nothing on that. When I was 17, I wasn't nowhere near that.
Yeah, it's dope to see that. It got to be awesome for you to be able to see that, too.
Yeah, she blows my mind. I'm like, yeah, fundamentals, being fundamental. You know what I mean? And like all that. But you have to learn to do it. And I like that the young kids look down on it because they have to learn to do it by hand. You know, I paint graffiti when I'm not doing these jobs. I'll go out like... And Jules will get a wall, or One Up will call me and be like, oh, we got the spot up here on Freiburg. I'm going to come up. So I'll go in. I keep it on. I go in. I sketch it all out with paint. You know what I mean? No projector. Not keep it old school. And I still paint like that. But on these jobs where like money and time is an issue for me and for the people that are paying me.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? If I, Brian Holderman said to me, well, you drew it once already. And I'm like, yeah, I drew it once already. I'll just project it up there and do it. And as far as the skateboarding analogy goes, like I feel it. Like the young kids, young skaters should be hating on motorized boards. Young graffiti writers should be hating on the projectors and learn to do it themselves. But if I see like an old head skater from back in my day that I respect, that was like really doing things right, like back then, like top of his game, like tricks and all that. Like it sounds like I'm comparing myself to this dude, and you know I'm trying to make a point. But you know, Mark Gonzalez. Okay. You know what I mean? If I see Mark Gonzalez on his wife's Instagram, because he don't have an Instagram, but his wife got one. She'll put pictures of him on videos and shit on there sometimes. Yeah. If I see Mark Gonzalez blazing through the middle of Manhattan on a motorized skateboard, I'm hitting the like button. Yeah, because Mark Gonzalez does it like that. You know what I mean? He does whatever he wants.
It's a good way to think about it. Yeah, he already cut his teeth. Like you know what he could do.
Yeah, yeah. If it's him or like Nodis or like any. Like, you know, Mark Gonzalez would do it because Mark Gonzalez don't give a shit.
That interested me, though, because, like, I know that it was looked down upon. Like, I know it's looked down upon because, like, it's almost like, you're not being true to the craft or some shit like that. But whenever, like, you know, time and money comes into play, like, you know, that's understandable. And I was real curious about, like, your thoughts on that because, like, I saw you just posted that. And I think that, like, you know, it's pretty wild to look at your work that you post and like see that it's not, you know, a lot of it is not from like a projector or like you're not using like tape and shit like that, because I feel like people don't understand how difficult it would be. You know, I like whenever I was in high school, like I would fuck around and like try to like, you know, paint like skateboard ramps that we have and stuff like that. And like the level of difficulty it is to just keep like consistent lines and stuff like that is mind blowing to me how you guys do what you fucking do. But, I was interested at that part of it because like, you know, you already put in the work and you already developed your skills and you did all that. And to be able to use that is just like another tool in the toolbox and to make it more efficient.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It's a practical decision, not a an aesthetic decision, really, so much as it just speeds things up a lot, because I could spend like a whole day like sketching out like a scene, like with a piece of chalk, and where I could project the same thing that I drew already, that I came up with. I could project it on there and like hit those lines with the chalk in like 2 hours and then get straight to painting.
Yeah.
Because the drawing part of it ain't the fun part. I'm a painter. I'm not a draftsman so much. I mean, I do appreciate the fundamentals of drawing, and I like to think that like every time I draw, I get a little bit better than I was before because I respect it.
Yeah.
But really, I like paint. Like I like you know what I mean? I'm a painter. So the quicker I can get into painting, and if you see like the fill-ins and stuff like that, like I'm working on can control, like I'm working on like the quick cuts on there and stuff like that, like in practicing, almost like a piano player plays scales.
Yeah.
Like I'll be filling it in like that. Then I'll outline it with black acrylic. Yeah, my way's not for everybody. You know what I mean? I wouldn't, and I respect all kinds of different approaches. I love the young kids that are out there bombing, like hardball, and just like I'm in the softball league. It seems like I'm old. You
like
know
the
what
beer
I mean?
league.
I'm in the beer league. They're hardballing out there. Like they're in there getting after it. You know what I mean? They're risking their lives, climbing up on shit, risking their freedom to do it. You know what I mean? I got nothing but love for them, but I could understand like if they felt some type of way about. But you know what I mean? You don't know till you get there. Get to be my age, see what happens. I don't know. Maybe you stick to your guns on all that.
Yeah.
Maybe you just like live and learn and start looking at things. I don't know.
Now,
it's hard to say.
When did you kind of like get out of the whole like illegal shit? It's like, I mean, now before we even get into that, let me ask you about this. Like back then, obviously you came up whenever there's no cameras and shit like that. No one had phones. No one had, like Ring doorbells and like, there's cameras everywhere now. You cannot do anything now without like, someone like pulling the video from a Sunoco that's like 2 blocks away.
People with video footage.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So like to see that like kind of progress, like did you see like a decline in writers and shit like that whenever like the age of technology kind of like started to like come in at that like crazy force that it did?
That would be hard for me to I haven't really thought about. It seems like there's the constant like same amount of like writers like all the time. Like there's always new guys getting into it, and just like guys that just get sick of it and move on to different stuff. Yeah. And it's interesting. They're coming and going. Yeah, the monitoring, everything's monitored now. Yeah, that would be harder. Yeah, up until like what I say, the statute of limitations was like 5 years now. I think it is. Yeah, up until like 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I did some illegal shit, but like I haven't done any since.
That's good.
That's good. It's good to it's good to keep yourself honest on things. It's just I'm an old head now, dude, and like you know what I mean. Dudes like my age own buildings and stuff, and they'll be like, "Oh, you want to come paint it?" But I'm like, "Why not?" Yeah. You know what I mean? I show up with a freaking with my coffee.
Yeah, you don't have to be ducking and diving out of shit. Don't have to be
ducking and diving. Like,
true.
I don't charge and paint like that. I did a piece up in Polish Hill last year on the back of this auto body place. That Prism had a piece up there. One of my.
Was that the other piece that you did with Surge?
I did with this dude Dasm, with this guy Dasm from up there. But he went to school with the guy that owns the auto body place.
Okay.
And he was like, it's the same wall that Prism had and Kiro had their piece on. It's all chipping up. Well, he primed it and painted it, and they let us paint it, and we went up. And like I used my own paint. Like I didn't take a dime for it. Like you know what I mean? If you if you see like some like straight up graffiti, like outside like that, I don't think I've ever been paid to do any graffiti on the outside of anything. Like interior shit, I'll get a paycheck, you know what I mean? But yeah, they were like, come up and paint, and I will. And then we painted the back of a building in Homewood last year too, with the FTC crew down there. Like everybody came through, and like it was like it was 4th of July weekend, I think, or Memorial Day or something like that. Well, it was nice, and we were all out there painting. And the dude that owns the building, real good guy, was just like, come paint.
Really?
You know what I mean?
That's pretty sick.
If people weren't allowing me to do that, I would probably be out there every once in a while just doing it. But like that's what I tell the young guys, like, oh, you're going to come out to this spot and this spot. You know what I mean? I'm like, look, It's like that story about like the bear. You know what I mean? Like a group of guys and a bear comes up and they all start running. Like, they don't have to be faster than the bear. They just have to be faster than the slowest guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I probably
absolutely.
said that all wrong.
Yeah,
but I'm
I
the
get what you're
slowest
saying.
guy. You know what I mean? I'm 48. So if the cops show up to a spot and, it's me and like 5 other young kids, they're off.
I know, that's a good point.
And I'm like smoking. You know what I mean? I smoke, and I'm like, I'd be hit. I'd be the one getting caught. So. It's like a natural progression of a funnel of like, kind of like funneling off the work. That makes a lot of sense though. Yeah. So, but if people didn't let me paint graph on their buildings outside, like I would be sneaking around pretty much doing it. And I probably wouldn't be as carefree about speaking about it publicly as I am now. It's just, it's where I'm at. I'm not trying to be somebody I'm not. I'm not trying to make claims something that, you know what I mean?
That's cool though.
I love it. Like dudes in high school, like, dudes in high school, they played on a football team and they had a nice car. Well, they get to be 48 years old. They still watch football every Sunday. Maybe around Thanksgiving, they play a flag football game. They still like their cars. They work on them all the time.
I like it.
I liked skateboarding graffiti when I was a teenager. I wasn't cars and football. I was skateboarding graffiti. I just still do it.
Yeah.
I carve around the skate park. I don't get wild. I ain't trying to break a hip out there or nothing. But I'll be out boys on a Sunday morning, something when it's nice out, zipping around like carving
fun.
and shit.
Just fun.
It's fun, and I still spray paint. You know what I mean? I'm lucky enough to be able to make a couple bucks and provide for my kid by doing it. And I don't take it for granted. And will the mural is it a trend? Will the mural thing continue? You know what I mean? Oh, rock and roll ain't never gonna last. Oh, rap music's just a phase. It's just a fad. It'll
That's
blow.
a good point.
It is.
Do you notice that though?
Is
like
the murals thing gonna have the staying power that those 2 other art forms had? I don't know.
Yeah. Like, but you do notice that like trend though. Like, there's a lot of like the newer restaurants and stuff like that. Like, why do you think that is? The whole like
people love taking pictures in front of them. That's
yeah.
why.
Oh yeah, you see all them like a whole line of white girls down in Nashville in front of them angel wings.
If you're going to get civilians into something that you're doing, find a way to make them a part of it. People love themselves. They'll sit in front of them, take a selfie in front of some nice spray paint. They won't even get the whole piece in. And that's all good. I'm not judging. My Generation X ass, my cynical ass is like, oh, these vain pricks. But they're not. I'm a vain prick too. You know what I mean?
It's just dope.
Yeah, it's just dope.
Like we went to we were in Seattle and we went to this place called it was like a pinball bar, but I mean like it was an old school like dive bar. They sold alcohol, but it was just all old games and all old pinball. There was like the illest wall with this like Patrick Swayze mural, and I was like 100% I'm taking a picture in front of that. 100%.
Dig that they was roadhousing it down there.
Dude, it was just it was so sick, but I could understand that. It's interesting to think about that whole thought, like kind of make people a part of that, because like I feel like that it's like almost everywhere you look there's artwork in these restaurants, but it's almost like a lot of it is, I notice, is like spray can art, and it's an interesting like movement that kind of came in, because like when do you think that started? Like 5 years ago maybe? Like really ramping up to like where the public was really, like on board with it. Yeah, you're probably right. Probably about 5 years ago. Like I've seen it ramping up the whole time since I used it. See, the thing about this, like if you want to call it, like there hasn't been like a legitimate art movement like globally since pop art in the 60s. Like there's been political art, there's been like, like shit that was popular in the 80s, like Patrick Nagel, like all those illustrations you see in like Vietnamese like nail stores and stuff, them slick ones, which are beautiful. The lines on them are beautiful. But there hasn't been a movement, so to speak. But if you want to call it the street art movement, if you want to, whatever you want to call it, there are. It's all about the medium. It's all about the medium is the message. The spray paint is it. Like globally though, there's never been so many people like as like, just like contributors to a thing as it is now. It seems like this is like the biggest thing ever from Sao Paulo, Brazil to
Tokyo, over like in the Netherlands, like all them dudes over in Europe, like the Germans. You know, the good spray paint comes from Germany and Spain, for crying out loud, with the stuff I use. But you know, in America, and it only really started like really like, you know, like 1970s. Of course, people have always written on walls, but like the 1970s was really like the big jump off for like spray painting on shit.
Oh yeah.
And that was like maybe like 50 years. Now it's global. Like, I mean,
do you think social media has anything to do with like the range of like where it's traveling to?
It does, because it's got the regular people more interested in it, because they're taking pictures of themselves in front of murals, or like, I always say, if you want to make a big splash in like this quote unquote street art world, paint a pair of wings somewhere where people can stand in front of it and put your hashtag on it.
It's fucking crazy.
You know, yeah, so they could do all that. So like people like good backgrounds, like, you know, and they like good artwork too. I'm not saying that like all of them are like, you know, up close up. Like they'll be back, like regular folks will be back, like taking pictures of like, you know, legit murals.
Yeah.
And it's art for the public. It's art for the people. Like, fuck the art world, because it's nothing but snob shit all the time. You know what I mean? And these artists, you know, they go to school, they get a master's in fine arts, and they learn how to write papers about the artwork that they're making to make excuses for it, basically, because regular people can't enjoy it on their own just looking. If I can't look at your shit and see value and virtue in it, you know what I mean, and have it inspire me, if I need a 12-page dissertation on why this thing should exist, fuck you and your artwork. You know what I mean? I don't give a shit about it. But the mural thing is art for the people. Like, like it's shit. Like you look at, okay, this guy painted a wicked ass crocodile, or this guy painted like this tripped out version of some iconic cartoon character somewhere, and people know what that is.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? They don't have to feel like they gotta
interpret something like super deep.
Look at a piece of artwork that just basically talked down to them by not saying anything at all. Like, you're dumb for not understanding me.
That's a really good point. That's a good point.
That's what I say. I said, love the artwork, learn the art business, avoid the art world. Period. They're nothing but a bunch of snakes and scumbags, dude. Straight up.
Wow.
Yeah, I won't fuck with galleries. I don't. Rarely, unless it's a good friend of mine putting it together or something like that, I might put something in here or something. But you'll find my shit in hair salons. You'll find my shit in like coffee shops, restaurants, like stuff where you wouldn't expect to see it.
Absolutely.
A lot of times, barbershops, like the gallery
but it's
world.
Not the stuck up.
I was stoked when the Pittsburgh Center for the Arts announced they were closing. I was stoked. I was like, good. Them scumbags, they've been charging people like, they tried to charge, my buddy tried to take his like 4 kids to go see a thing up there one time, like on a Sunday at the Pittsburgh Center for the Arts. They tried to charge him $5 and $5 for each of his kids, $25 to walk in the building. They wonder why people don't go there no more.
Yeah.
They're trying to get people all the time. So I was like, but I was happy to see that they managed to find a way to keep the Harris Theater on Liberty Avenue open, because that was in that whole thing. But I just saw like somebody stepped in on that, and they're going to keep that open.
I've just seen that too.
Yeah, that was the
blue
best
one with
thing.
The yellow sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw my buddy Greg's Bushwick Bill documentary down there, and then I saw Glenn Friedman. You know Glenn Friedman, the photographer. He used to take all the old Public Enemy and Beastie Boys pictures, skateboarding pictures and shit. I saw him down there too.
Someone told me about the first guy you mentioned. He did the documentary. Mm-hmm. Someone told me that I should hit him up and talk to him.
Greg is my dude, man. I go way back.
Might have been you who told me to hit him up.
I might have.
Yeah, maybe. But now, like, what's your thought process of like today? You know, like what do you want out of like what you're doing today? Like, you're obviously still working, you're obviously still like, you know, passionate about what you do, but like you're to this point, like how are you approaching like every day? Like what are your goals?
I don't know.
Paint what you like and get paid for it.
Well, that's part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're completely honest with it. I mean, I can't give like a 100% self-righteous answer. Yeah, I'm trying to make a living. I'm trying to do what I like to do. But I'm also not trying to make artwork that looks like a therapy appointment or a counseling appointment where it's like sad. And like, if anything, I guess, you know, trying to add some joy to the world. I try to add some value to the world. You know what I mean? Something, people's lives
do
are
what
hard.
you love.
Humanity's
do what you
hard.
love that isn't a job to you, basically. You know what I mean? Like the stuff that you're doing is technically a job, I'm sure, but like it's still things that you could love rather than just like painting some cookie cutter ass shit. But like whenever I look at your Instagram, I see like, you know, it seems to be that you're passionate about shit. It seems to be that like you're still as heavy into it as you are. It's like I see these pieces that you put up and like they're still crazy. Like, and
Thanks, man.
it's cool to like see that, and it's cool to see like, because like I'm about to be 30. You know, you're 20 years older than me. It's cool to see someone that still has like a love for something like that, that's still like out there and wants to like, you know, try to like do it. Because the goal in life is to be able to do what you love to do and get paid for it. There's nothing about being humble about that. It's like that's the goal in life. The people that are doing, the people that are not saying that are the people that are thinking that are wishing that they could do it, that just like settled for some other bullshit. You know what I mean? That's how I feel about things. And I think it's unique to find someone who is still, you know, kind of as passionate about something that they were, you know, 40 years ago.
Thanks, man. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, try to pass the stoke along almost. Yeah, see, the thing is with a lot of people, like, you know, and not just old heads like me, but like even your generation, like there's a cost to everything, right? We know that. There's a lot of sacrifices that I've had to make to do what I like to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's things I don't have. Like,
Yeah.
I don't own a house. You know what I mean? Like, I drive a work van. You know, I don't have a fancy car, all that stuff, but I'm doing what I love to do.
Yeah.
Now, the people out there, like, they own their house, they got a car, they're pissed they got to go to the same job every day. Well, they put themselves in that position because they wanted that
That's where you got to
stuff.
weigh it. You got to weigh that.
It's your option. Now, if you can hate on me because I'm out there doing what I like to do and you hate your cubicle job, know that you got a lot of nicer shit than I got.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking my life is probably more enjoyable than yours.
enjoyable.
No matter
That's what it
whether,
is.
you know, I might not have as much, but I enjoy my life.
Yeah.
I don't get up hating what I got to do
Exactly.
every day. So that's a choice everybody got to make. So they could judge me. I could judge them. I could say, you're dumb for doing that. You know what I mean? But maybe that's what's good for them. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's how they're living. And I'm trying to, it's 2020. I'm trying to keep my judgments to a minimum. So, you know, whatever folks
you got
want
to nowadays.
You know what I'm saying, man? Like, I mean, I like to have fun and cut up and like all that, but like there's some thin skin out there and I'm not trying to get people mad.
I feel you there.
You know what I mean?
Now, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I could pick your brain on before we get to this ending segment. I mean, to be a dad that has a daughter that's doing shit like you do, like, it got to be awesome. Like, it got to be cool to see that like your kid like kind of like took up that lifestyle that you submersed yourself in your entire life. Like, what's your thoughts on that shit? Like, when did she get into art?
I couldn't be more happy about it. Like when she was younger, like she always drew like kids draw and stuff like that. Like she hit a spot there where her skills just like went through the roof. Like she hit like an aesthetic growth spurt where it went from her just doing like common, you know, drawings that you'd expect from a child that age.
Yeah.
To just kablow.
Yeah.
And she don't do the shit that I do. And I never forced it on her. I promise you this. Like, I'm not like Beethoven's dad over there boxing her ears till she goes deaf or something because she don't get a line right.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, you know, because she took music lessons when she was younger. She was forced to practice it and all that.
Yeah.
With good reason. If you're paying for the lesson, you know, I mean, I wasn't
Absolutely.
paying for her. Grandmother was paying for him. But, you know, you got to practice, you know what I mean? But it became a chore to her. And she kind of like this, you know what I mean? She can play the piano. She can play the violin. She can play the guitar. She don't play them so much anymore.
Yeah.
She does a lot of art, but I never forced it on her. I was like, I'd be doing it. Like lead by example type of thing.
Yeah.
Like I'd be there working on a canvas. You know what I mean? She'd come and help me snap blue lines when I used to do the grid system.
That's super
on wall.
cool.
Yeah, she'd be up on the scaffolding. You know, I pay her good too.
Yeah.
But anyway, you know what I mean? Like I don't get that cheap like farmer labor from back in the day. Now she gets paid top dollar, but yeah, she'd come in and help me. You know, I'd be drawing something. Now she's drawing like she I got her you know, like an Apple Pencil for an iPad.
Yeah.
Like a year and a half ago, probably.
Crazy the technology.
Yeah, it was like a year and a half ago, and and like I see her doing it, like I would get her better stuff than I had. You know what I mean? If she was into it, like
Absolutely.
if she was into art and she wanted to try this, like I'd buy her like the whole set of paint. Like I'd give her everything she could possibly use to do it. But without breathing down her neck about it, I figured that was my best move.
Just put it in front of her and let her take off with it.
She got me using the iPad now. I got my own iPad now and shit. I don't know what's happening.
It's pretty sick. My tattoo artist,
sick.
You know, my tattoo artist, whenever I first got my like tattoos, it was probably like 11 years ago, and like to see what he does with drawing that shit on there, and like to see him on his iPad now, like I just got these gremlins on my leg, and it's like before. I can't even imagine like to be an artist and like to have the technology that's there now. Like, got to be crazy exciting. Like, I was actually like, whenever Dante was doing these stickers and shit, I was over his house and he was just showing me like how he was doing some of the work that he was doing for like one of the companies. But he just like took a photo of a wall with like the inside of the Boys and Girls Club, I think it was, and he just took a photo of a wall and he was able to draw on it.
I do that same thing.
Yeah, and like that's such a like that's crazy to me to even like think about that. Like to think that that's a way that like you could, that's a tool that you have now to be able to use.
I'm happy. I mean, and you can go in there with. Dude, you can go in there with the tape measure and your ladder and all that stuff and measure all the ins and outs.
And that's respectable.
Work out the scale.
Yeah.
Scale it down, put it on a grid system on paper and do it. But you have any idea? Like, if you've never done that yourself, you don't know how long that fucking takes to do because you're up and down. You know what I mean? It's like you got to go do a site survey and you're there the whole day measuring stuff
that's
out. You
days.
go home with a bunch of numbers and
days.
then you're on paper. Dude, when I saw it, they were taking a picture with that freaking iPad of the wall and then sketch it out on the wall. I'm like, I've got to be mental. It's one of those things where you can't let your own ideals get in your way.
Yeah.
Because I do that sometimes. Like you know how it is? Like I'll be like, oh, this is my ideal. This is the way I've always done it.
Yeah.
And all that. And it's, you know what I mean? And it's respectable and it's old school and it's this and it's that and it's the other thing. But you know what else it is? It's 20 hours more worth of work.
Absolutely.
Where I could be taking damn naps.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if I'm taking a picture of the wall now and I'm sketching.
That's
matter of fact,
understandable.
that's what I'm doing when I go home. I took pictures yesterday and I'm going to sketch shit out on photos when I get home.
That's super
and then
cool.
Then take the background out.
It blew my mind whenever he was showing me that. He was like, dude, because like we were working on some stickers that I was doing, and like he was like, this is what I'm working on now. Because I was asking him like, what you're up to now? I love all his shit, and he was showing me that, and he was showing me like the before and after of like him being able to have that wall and just like the after photo of him coloring it. And he was like, dude, you don't even understand like to be able to like draw this on here and just hit erase if I want to, instead of just like crumbling up paper and just like fucking like having to worry about that. It's like, it's almost like, you know, I don't know. It's cool to be able to see and to see the world kind of like provide you with things that can drastically change your life and, you know, make your life more not the word's not accessible, but like just to make shit more logical. You know what I mean? Like, why not?
Well, let's look at the big picture of the whole thing with the technology, because I used to be one of the haters that, I mean, I would learn it, but I would grudgingly use it. And not celebrate it and not be like, I got to do what I got to do kind of thing. But here's what it is. When you look at like painting, and just how painting developed, like from like the caveman days when they used to spit like, you know, ash and saliva on their hand on the wall and stuff like that. Well, somebody decided they were gonna mix powdered pigment into egg whites and make egg tempera. Then oil paints came along and that changed things. Acrylic paints came along and changed things. They were like, okay, we're gonna put enamel into a pressurized can so that you're able to spray it.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
And that's all technology. So anybody who's using spray cans now and not using like digital technology or whatever, you're still using technology. You're still using stuff that other people used
just
to make it easier on yourself. Imagine out there painting a piece with a paintbrush. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's wild.
That's how I'm looking at. That's how I came to look at the whole technology thing. It's a tool. It's not a crutch. I suggest any young artist work on their fundamentals.
It's a tool, not a crutch.
Yeah, and do it on paper. Do it on, you know what I mean? Do it the hard way. Put a grid up on the wall. See what it takes so you can appreciate these things more when you eventually try to do it. I think, yeah, and if you go right into it with the technology and all that stuff, well, I imagine that's fine too. But I think you would, as from my own personal experience, I like knowing that I could do it without it if I had to.
Yeah.
So, I appreciate it. I'm not trying to, I'm not on a crusade for it or anything like that. People
No,
can
I
do
get
what
it.
they want to do. But
if
yeah,
it's
there are
right
some
in front of
smart
you.
people. The academic community would not consider me what they call a bright man.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of bright people out there doing a lot of cool shit that can that regular everyday folks can use as a tool to help, you know what I mean? Do whatever. You make your life better, make your job better, make your job easier on you, or whatever.
Use it to your advantage.
Yeah, but I think it's important not to become too dependent. But
not to let it be a crutch.
Yeah, not to let it be a
tool.
Look at it like a tool. That's like social media is a tool.
I love that.
Social media is like a hammer. You can use it to build something, or you can use it to bang yourself in the fingers all day long.
Yeah.
However you want to look at it. You know what I mean?
I love
Sometimes
that.
a perspective shift is all it takes.
Use it as a tool and not a crutch.
Yeah,
I love
use
that.
it as a tool, not a crutch.
Man.
For sure.
You're an interesting dude.
Hey, all right. You are too kind, man. I appreciate that.
So the ending segment that I do with all my guests is an ending segment called Desert Island Questions. Desert Island Questions is where I give each of my guests 3 categories to take with them on a desert island to exhaust until extinction or their demise. And the first category is things to watch on a desert island. So you get 3 choices of things to watch on a desert island.
Like a show?
Anything you want. TV, movies, shows, whatever you want.
3 things to watch on a desert island.
Yeah.
I really enjoy watching Bob's Burgers. I like that show. I mean, they got enough of them now. If they gave me all the seasons,
Yeah.
I could probably.
I'll give you all them seasons.
I could probably watch that. I'm a big kid, dude. I watch cartoons all the time. I watch Adult Swim every night.
I need to start watching Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty's good, dude. That's some heady shit sometimes. They get heavy on there.
I've been told that by so many people. They're like, dude, Rick and Morty is the craziest shit you'll ever watch. And they were like, it's just disguised as a cartoon.
Quantum mechanics and all that
wow,
shit, dude.
They I gotta watch it. I do. I gotta watch that.
And the humor on it is irreverent for sure.
All right.
Let's see. 3 things to watch. Can I choose all the Star Wars movies?
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah, I'll choose that. The whole dip.
You like the new ones?
Yeah, I like them. You know what I mean? I saw the original Star Wars in '77 when it came out.
Yeah.
So I like that. They were doing it with the stop motion animation and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
And the models and all that. But I like the new ones. I don't like the prequels so much. They're corny as shit. But the new ones that they just put out, I saw the newest one was good. That Mandalorian show.
I didn't watch that yet. I know
My
that it's
nephew
great.
gave me his code for the Disney thing. I ain't paying for that, but he gave me the code for that and I watched it. It's 8 episodes, dude. It is good.
That's what everyone says. Everyone says it was great,
dude. I was not expecting
it's
a lot.
wild to think that that's Jon Favreau. Jon Favreau from Swingers.
Yeah, I know. I saw that the dude from Iron Man.
Yeah, that's super wild. And to think that he did a bunch of. He's doing all kinds of shit. He did The Lion King. He did that's just wild to think about that because he was the dude in The Replacements. You ever see that movie, The Replacements, with Keanu Reeves? He's a football player.
No.
Jon Favreau plays this insane linebacker who beats his head on his helmets and stuff like that. And I don't know. I just think of all these wild things, but he's this crazy director and shit now. Pretty crazy. I'll give you all the Star Wars, though. All the Star Wars, all the Bob's Burgers.
All right. Star Wars with the Mandalorian in.
I'll put all of it in there.
All right.
Even the
Sweet.
Lego shit.
And let's see. What's a good funny movie that I like? You know what movie I enjoy watching every time I see it is Barfly with Mickey Rourke and Faye Dunaway. Bukowski wrote the screenplay for it.
Really?
Writer,
I've never
Charles
seen that.
Bukowski.
I know who Charles Bukowski is, but I've never seen that. It's called Barfly?
Barfly. Yeah.
What's that about?
It's just about young Henry Chinosky, his character, that's pretty much autobiographical. Yeah. Young guy just living in cheap boarding house, getting in bar fights.
This is older?
Hooking up with a MILF.
This is older?
Yeah, this is from 87.
Barfly. I got to watch that.
88 or 89. Back then. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's Mickey Rourke before he got all the weird plastic surgery and shit.
He's wild now.
Yeah, he's wild as hell now.
The last good thing that I think he did was whenever he was in the Iron Man movie. I feel like that was like the last good thing he did before he started getting kind of crazy. But then you had like The Wrestler right before that, which was absolutely incredible. You ever see that movie?
I never saw it.
Dude, The Wrestler is the wildest movie. Mickey Rourke plays like a local, at one point he was like a famous like local wrestler, and it's like his body like disintegrated, and it's just him like living in a trailer and like him trying to like, just kind of make it, and it's one of the better movies that I've ever seen. Yeah, I love it. You should absolutely watch
I like
that.
Mickey Rourke. He's wild as hell with that plastic surgery, but he's a good actor.
Nowadays he is a little bit strange, but that's a super good movie. I've been wanting to watch that again, and that's why it's weird you just said Mickey Rourke, because I was just thinking about that the other day. All right, those are good choices. I'm gonna definitely watch that Barfly movie.
Yeah, check it out.
Do you read it all?
Yes.
Okay, so 3 books.
3 books. I like Tom Robbins' Even Cowgirls Get the Blues. I like that book. They made a movie about that. I never saw the movie though, but the book is really good.
Okay.
Chuck Palahniuk's Haunted is very good.
I never read that one.
It's good. It's like these these writers sign up for like a writing camp kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's real low key, like they got to meet this bus like early in the morning before the break of dawn. Well, the bus goes to this old abandoned building, and they all get locked in for this writers workshop.
It's worth reading though.
Yeah, it's like Survivor.
I would read that.
They get locked in there, and they're just like, you know what I mean? And all this shit happens. And at the beginning of each chapter, like they all have to write a short story by the time the thing's over.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of each chapter, there's a short story from a different character that's locked in there. So
this
you
is
get
Palahniuk?
Yeah, you get short stories with it
He's a wild motherfucker.
The like novel, like plot line going through. Like he mixed up the styles and it's fluid too.
Dude, he's nuts.
Yeah,
did you ever read?
I met him one time. He's cool as shit.
Chuck Palahniuk?
Yeah.
I bet you he would be cool. I never knew of anything. Like, I knew of all of his work, but, like, you could read people's books and you're like, this dude's a fucking weirdo. But then I watched him on Joe Rogan, whenever he did that interview. And, like, I feel like Joe Rogan is so, like, exhausted as far as, like, references. But, like, podcasting is, like, the best way to ever learn. Like, this is the best way you're going to learn about anyone that you like. Like, it's not on like an Ellen show. It's not like on a radio show where they're talking for 5 minutes. It's like an hour plus conversation is where you're going to learn most about a person. And he's a super interesting dude. Did you ever read Snuff?
No, I haven't read that one. Like I got so many of his books, but I don't have that one. And I never read Invisible Monsters either.
I read those are like 2 of the most recent that I read. Invisible Monsters was dope. I like that one a lot. Snuff was super wild though. Snuff, do you know what it is?
I know snuff films, like porno films.
Yeah, so it's about this older, like ran down, like rode hard, put away wet porn star, and it's like she's trying to set this record in like a 24-hour period, and there's like a murder and shit like that. It's pretty cool. It's a good one.
He's subversive as shit with his stuff. Yeah,
he's a wild dude for sure.
Yeah, those are the two that I haven't read. Like I read.
I want to read Choke. Choke, and then the other one called Survivor. I
read Survivor.
I got 2 of them. Those are the ones that I got to read next.
Damned and Doomed are good too.
Damned is like Breakfast Club.
Yeah, it's like Breakfast Club. Yeah. This girl gets sent to hell. Like
that was super cool. Yeah, I got that one.
Yeah, she thinks she died because she smoked too much marijuana or something. It's just like campy as shit, like a John Waters, like has that John Waters kind of vibe to
Absolutely. I like that a lot. That was cool. Okay. So that's good. That was a second choice that you picked?
Yeah, and Mastery by Robert Greene.
Mastery.
Yeah, which is it's a well-written book just about like he wrote a book called 48 Laws of Power that I read when I was in jail, and excellent book. Like it's like, I mean, really good. So then I found this Mastery book, and like I'm looking at it, And you could tell he mellowed out from the 48 Laws of Power because he was like on some like amoral, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm you know, like if you're gonna hit the king, kill the king type shit.
Yeah.
Which was pretty hard edged. But it was worth reading. Some of it is stuff like you wouldn't do it, but it's nice to be aware that other people may be doing it.
Absolutely.
You know, that type of thing. But Mastery is like more like mellowed out, and he just like talks about, you know, like the pursuit of mastery, like in your own personal life. How, you know what I mean?
I like
what
that.
are some suggestions that you can, you know, like, you know, from apprenticeship to like, you know, journeyman type stuff to mastery and just breaking it down real logically. He
That's
also
pretty
has
cool.
another one called The Laws of Human Nature, which I read the first chapter of it, but I haven't really got into it
Yeah.
yet. But I think I may like that one better than 48 Laws of Power.
I need to read more.
Robert Greene, dude, he used to be like editor for like Esquire. He has a law background, but his books are very philosophical. Like they sell them in the business section.
Yeah.
But really, they could just as easily put them in the philosophy section for real because
That's
it's
pretty
real
cool.
stuff like practical
Robert
shit.
Greene.
Robert Greene. Yep.
Okay. Those are good
Green
choices.
with an E on the end.
Green with an E on the end.
Yes, sir.
All right. And third category is 3 things to listen to.
3 things to listen to. The Stone Roses self-titled album from 88
Okay.
came out. My favorite album of all time. Rolling Stones Exile on Main Street album.
Yeah.
Excellent album. And Beastie Boys Paul's Boutique.
Oh.
It was a toss up between
good.
Beastie Boys Paul's Boutique, Blur's Park Life album, or Pixies Doolittle album, but the Beastie Boys squeaked it out.
All
yeah,
right.
that was also out in '89. That's what I listened to when I was a high school, like a senior in high school.
And that's what, like, is
going to
still on your
Votech.
heart.
I had a boombox between, like, in my painted up car, and I put the tape in there, and I'd go, dude. Like, yeah, great time in my life. But
That's sick.
I still listen to that shit. Yeah, those are the 3 things I would probably three albums I would take with me.
All right. And then the second to last question is the death row meal.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So whatever you want from wherever you want, as much as you want.
You know what? I've thought about this before, and I can never really come up with like something because you know.
I just like food. You know what I mean?
Me too.
Like, there's nothing.
I'm saying.
I think about that a lot. Like, what I would choose, and like, honestly, it's all like situational on the day. Like, some days I really want like some tacos. Some days I really want some burgers. You know, like just random ass shit.
I'm happy. Like what is like a did you know Timothy McVeigh, the Oklahoma City bomber?
Yeah.
You know his last meal was 2 pints of mint chocolate chip ice cream.
Yeah.
It's like a high school cheerleader from like 1986.
Well, this is the reason that I even brought this up is like I was always fascinated by the articles of like what people on death row are gonna like every time before they die, they give them any meal they want. Like supposedly, like John Wayne Gacy like asked for a kid. I think he did in the one article that I read.
Oh, he's fucking shot out. Dude.
Yeah, wow, dude. But then there's other people that said like, you know, I want like a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper and a whole bucket of KFC. And like that's just such a unique question, or like I feel like that's kind of like revealing. You know what I mean?
That's funny because that's when you said that. Like I'm in the mood for some KFC. I'm thinking like a bucket of original recipe KFC.
All right.
Is what I'm thinking. And if I'm dying, I don't got to worry about my liver.
Yeah.
Run that Jim Beam in. You know what I mean?
All
a
right.
fifth, just to get probably a pint would probably do it, but you know, run
Right
that
to the
in.
head. Just toss it to the
KFC
dome.
and Jim Beam and
What about a dessert?
Probably cheesecake with just like the old school cherries on it, dude. You know what I mean?
love
Just
a
like out the
cheesecake.
can. You know, nothing fancy,
Yeah.
no frills, all thrills. Put them cherries on it.
Yeah, cheesecake. That's a good answer.
Yeah, cheesecake, fried chicken, and Jim Beam.
All right.
Oh, I need a chaser too. What am I chasing that with? Probably chasing with peach tea, Turner's peach tea.
Turner's peach tea.
You know that's right, boy.
Turner's tea.
I got some in the house. Whenever I get home and I got to do these drawings, that's the first thing I'm doing. I'm pouring myself a big ass glass of that shit.
Turner's tea. That's the Pittsburgh staple. That's the bloodline.
Yes, indeed.
All right. So the last question that I ask everyone is, if you could have a conversation with anyone, alive or dead, who would it be and why?
Jesus Christ.
He's a common answer.
Yeah.
It's a common answer.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a really good answer.
Like, because I like to know them.
Yeah.
Because, you ever play that game like a holiday party where somebody whispers, they get a line of people and like it starts out with like a sentence and you whisper it in each other's ear.
It changes all the way. Yeah.
I want to know. I want to know the real
shit.
deal. I want to be like, because he hung out with hookers and drunks.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? Was a thorough dude. Like, you know what I mean? Always like helping people out and stuff like that. And you know what I mean? And there's
it's a ball of wax, but that's a good
yeah, like
what's a good person.
What did you really say before all the translations came down from this generation to this generation?
That's a good point.
And all that stuff, because I believe, like, you know what I mean? Treat people the way you want to be treated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's not out there bashing gay dudes. He's not out there like telling. He was like, he's trying to like how a lot of people like in a position to speak on those things, like religious heads and stuff like that, want to start using his name to facilitate their own agendas.
Yeah, and their own
own corrupt human agendas.
Yeah, it's
you know
wild.
what I mean? Good.
Yeah, you just have to have a good heart.
Yeah.
You do well. Don't be a piece of shit. That's
love
it.
people, don't be a dick.
That's
know
it.
what I mean? Like self-righteous stuff. Like it's in a church fosters that in people. It's the us versus them mentality. When Jesus, I mean, this part of it even made it to us. This must be how important it was. The whole love your enemies thing. Treat your enemies like they were me. He says, you know what I mean? But no, the church. The church is like, no, it's us and it's them. And if they're not with us, then screw them and screw the Muslims and we're going to bomb their country and all that stuff. If the man was here, he'd be like, no, don't love your enemies.
Yeah.
Why don't you guys get together? Like the young graffiti guys beefing. Why don't you get together, have a meal together, talk, sit down as people instead of like two separate camps. It's just powerful people manipulating the general public to facilitate their own agendas. Republicans, Democrats, Christians, atheists, blah, 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 blah. There's all these major groups like jockeying for position and want their influence to be felt. So they're trying to manipulate regular, everyday people to like, okay, co-sign our bullshit. Here's your membership card. Co-sign our bullshit. You know what I mean?
That's a really good point.
The people in charge do not want independent thinkers. They don't. Ask George Carlin. What's a George Carlin? I might have to change it. I might have to change one of my answers to a George Carlin stand-up act.
Yeah.
Nobody says it better than him. Anyways, I'm going to quit beating that drum. But yeah, I'm like Groucho Marx said, I wouldn't join any club that would have me. You know what I mean? For real. So I'm not,
All right. The last thing. I added a new segment to the podcast. All right. This is a segment, it's called the Fishbowl. This segment is where I got every guest that I've had in the past. I had them write down a question that they wanted to ask someone, and you're going to pick one live on here, and you're going to read it.
All right.
And hopefully answer it to the best of your ability.
All right. What is your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, my God. Give me that. We picked that one last time. Give me that back.
Okay.
I have 100 pieces of paper in here, and you literally picked the same one that was picked last week.
No kid.
Let me mix this up a little bit more.
All right. Who was your biggest inspiration as a child? Matt Christie. Ayo. What's up, buddy? My biggest inspiration as a child? Probably Han Solo.
Han Solo?
Probably.
Dude, that's a good answer.
If I had to take a stab at it,
I think I fell in love with Harrison Ford even more whenever I found out that he was just like a carpenter on the set, and they just pulled him on. I was like, damn, like I love stuff like that. That's such a cool little fact. Everyone else that's listening, I appreciate it as usual. Now, take a second and promote anything you want to promote. Instagram, whatever, however anyone can get, and check out all your work and everything.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll just give them my Instagram.
Okay.
I'll be on there. You can check me out on Instagram. Check out some of my artwork at SP7HR, or I guess you could just put Matt Spahr in the thing. But it's Spahr, SPAHR, but instead of the A, got a 7 in there. That's all.
All right. Everyone else that's listening, thank you as always. I got big news coming up next week. Very, very big news. I'm excited to release that. And everyone else, I mean, it's I'll call you right back across the board. You already know where to find it. Thanks for listening as usual, and I'll call you right back.